We have 2 more categories to get through today. Ooh, let's get through them.
Yeah.
Next category. Most disappointing game.
Oh, boy. This is going to be a fun one.
It's quite a list.
It's a long list.
First grade of a year as it was. Dan?
What?
Let's not.
Okay.
Let's just not.
Okay.
I'm going to read this list. Mass Effect Andromeda.
Done.
All right. Thanks for joining us.
See you next year.
Need for Speed Payback.
There you go.
Call of Duty World War II.
Yikes.
Jeez, man.
Yeah, I was joking about being done after Mass Effect, but now I'm not
grim.
so sure.
Yeah.
This list is grim. We'll get into it. Star Wars Battlefront 2.
We'll get into it.
Forza Motorsport 7. Friday the 13th. Agents of Mayhem. Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. Middle-earth Shadow of War. Assassin's Creed Origins.
What the
really?
fuck? Who put that in there?
Okay, you know what? I shouldn't second-guess these choices. If somebody has an argument to make, they're allowed to make it. Super Bomberman R. Night Trap 25th Anniversary. Ruiner. Yooka-Laylee. Animal Crossing Pocket Camp. Double Dragon 4. Danger Zone. NBA 2K18. ARMS. Berserk and of the Band of the Hawk. Mario Party The Top 100. 1-2 Switch. And NBA Playground.
Oh, here, I'm going to add one.
Please do.
Animal Crossing Pocket.
The thing's already on
It's already
there.
on there.
Oh,
It's
okay.
already on
Never
there.
mind.
you
I wasn't
can
listening.
add it twice. Just
I mean,
bold it.
okay.
If you feel
Yeah.
very
Might
strongly,
deserve
yeah,
twice.
you can put it on twice.
Okay.
Okay, I have to ask this right out of the gate. Who put Assassin's Creed on here, and what's the
It
issue?
was insane.
I did because
Okay.
it like ruins everything I like about Assassin's Creed.
How is that?
See, this is the first Assassin's Creed I've liked.
Yeah, really? Yeah. So there you
that's
go.
the
So I like it takes away any of the cohesion I had from other Assassin's Creed games. Granted, I kind of got off Assassin's Creed after about Black Flag. I don't like the loot mechanics in it. I don't like that
I also
there.
don't like the
I
loot,
don't like
but-
that there are drops for different weapons that I have to cycle through.
What's the cohesion you're talking about? Are you talking about the like future
A
stuff?
story that I think like this one is super disjointed. I think the side quests feel completely tacked on and are bandit caves constantly.
No, I mean there's some good variation. There's like rescue the things from the hippos, or like go
Bandit
raid
waterfalls.
You know, like
Look, there's a lot of bandits in that game. I'm not going to stand here and say that the bandit presence is not significant. But the thing I would fire back about that is that I completely disagree that the side stuff feels tacked on. I think that if you want to say it doesn't feed much into the main narrative, that is fair. But the main narrative in that game is like the least part of the draw for me. The way they use those side stories to sort of like flesh out the character of Bayek and the way that, like what his role as a Medjai is, I think is some of the best writing in that game. And it's like, it's not universally great, but like for the sheer number of those quests that are in that game, like far more of them hit for me than they did not.
I haven't finished the game. I'm many hours in, but I find them to be work. Like I'm doing these quests. I'm skipping a bunch of the text on it because I know it is just go to the bandit cave at the end and then be like, get my shoe and then come back and turn it in. There just seems to, so far there just doesn't seem to be a like, a driving force in the narrative. Like, so I'm up to a part where I've got like a war table now. I don't know if that makes sense. There's like a,
yeah.
and they're like, no, we got to go do these other things. Here's the map. Now pick where you want to go. And that's kind of where I stop. So I don't know if things get better at that point, but it just feels like I was falling down a hill, killing things as I was going, kind of grabbing side quests as I was going down this hill and like looking at my loot along the way. Now, I'm not saying it's a bad game, but I'm saying it's not what I wanted from an Assassin's Creed game.
Yeah, I think for me it was I was expecting that game to be nothing to me. Like, it's not that I necessarily expected to hate it, but just like everything I'd seen of it leading up to its release was very much, I don't know if I need another one of these anytime soon. Even with the break, I just wasn't sure if I really wanted to get back into it. Like, I liked Syndicate, but like I felt all throughout that game a sense of malaise that I couldn't shake.
I really like the changes they made to the combat. I really like Bayek as a character. I like it, like he's the first kind of charming assassin. I mean, Ezio was cool and like, but his snark kind of grinded on me pretty quick. And I feel like Bayek is I feel his compassion for his rage of like, finding the man who killed his son And
him.
It is him, but somebody.
He's got guilt. It's a guilt.
But
Yeah.
also, like, they do some interesting stuff. I mean, she's not the central character, but Aya has like an interesting arc and sort of political awakening as that game goes
has
along.
Really good, like Bayek is good as a character fueled by like hate, like
Pure revenge.
and she's really good as a character fueled by like justice and trying to reform Egypt.
like her revenge is informed by something a little different than what Bayek is going for.
I don't
and
think I've gotten there yet. Like
Yeah.
where I'm at,
Her-
she is just a side character who shows up and wants to have like rage sex with Bayek every time he kills somebody.
I mean, to be fair,
I
I
mean,
want to have rage
is
sex
that
with
not
Bayek.
fun?
Yeah.
I'm just saying that defines her character so far.
Yeah.
Of like he
she
comes
gets
back.
better. She gets a lot.
Okay.
Yeah. Like the only character in that game I feel like they do disservice to is Cleopatra. Like they don't give her a lot of like interesting stuff to do in that game. Like she's really the only major historical figure that you see through like most of it. Like a lot of it is like most of the characters in that game are not like the usual like historical murder tourism. It's just like people who live in that world and are struggling to get by while there's this Greek occupation going on and the Romans are kind of circling around, and it's just like the whole of that world and the kind of intricacy of like the different cultural clashes in there, I think is really fascinating.
And like for me, the Assassin's Creed stuff where it hit the best was when it tried to tie in kernels of truth and like had you kind of paging through what was maybe like possible of like mysterious deaths of popes, or like, hey, we don't know really what happened to here, and so I'm going to fill in the gaps.
So they're
with
writing
this.
their story.
Yeah, I'm going to fill in
Yeah.
the gaps with what might have happened, and I feel like none of that is happening here.
Sure.
It is very loosely an Assassin's Creed game for me.
I have
and
a
more of
question.
what's that?
Is there an equivalent of Requiat in
Yes,
Apache?
there totally is.
Okay.
He holds a feather up and says, "I figure it may somebody take you, guide you."
You're in the duat, which
Okay.
is sort of the
Yeah, all right.
purgatorial state.
And you weigh.
That's hard.
The thing
That's
is,
good to know.
May Anubis guide
Anubis weighs your sins against a feather, and if it weighs more, then you go to hell.
But then there's also like some maybe more strange supernatural stuff in it that is less like you're in the upside down when you're doing it, and it's like a little weird. Like it's very much cribbed from like you're walking in shallow water with everybody there, and I don't know if that is a reference to something I don't know other than Stranger Things.
I mean, it seems like it's not working for you, but it seems like it's working for a lot of other people. So should it
Yeah.
really be most disappointing though? Or is it
I'm
supposed-
disappointed.
I mean,
like I said, it's not a bad game.
Right.
I don't want to minimize your disappointment in it.
There's a procedural point I should have made at the top of this thing, which is that the context of expectations matter in this category. So
yeah.
I think for my part, like everything they showed of this game prior to release,
yeah. So
combined with the
there are elements here such as they took a year off, saying, "Hey, we're going to go back to the drawing board after a couple of like fairly middling entries." There's also the context of coming out of E3. Everybody seemed weirdly down on this game.
Yeah, like
But then there's also the context of like Vinny fucking loves Assassin's Creed.
I
and
really
has-
love Assassin's Creed,
has
and this was
specific
the one that I
expectations.
thought they were going to come
Yeah,
back to and
yeah.
be like, okay, we're going to nail it, and
Yeah.
it is the least for me.
Yeah.
At least the least Assassin's Creed game. Like, there's no more. You're not stalking prey. Like, at least I didn't get to that part in the game where I'm gathering intel to make a sick assassination
Man,
on a
that's
guy.
a bummer. 'cause
There is
that is like
kind
the
of-
heart of Assassin's Creed.
Not
to me.
as in depth as
It's not really
some
an
previous
intel thing. Like
ones.
there are definitely some situations where like the assassination is not just like climb up a roof and then descend on a guy. Like there's a little more to it, but the assassinations have definitely been de-emphasized in this game compared to some of the previous ones. And the one bummer I have about this game is that they didn't retain some of the like light dusting of Hitman that Syndicate had, where like you could sort of you there was more you could affect in the environment and do with that assassination stuff. And here there really isn't much of that.
Here
like,
it
I
seems
think-
like giving you more tools to
Yeah.
like if you're gonna fight them, and in the fight you have more abilities to use.
And I think Bayek is maybe a neat character in terms of his characterization, but like the justification for what a Medjay is a superhero. Like I don't understand.
He's
like,
a cop.
Yeah, but he's a super cop. Like how is he getting all these powers? Like where is he learning them from on his like on his road to killing bandits?
he's learning it from his magic eagle.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you want to say that he like them not properly explaining him being a warg that's a totally fair point.
Yeah,
sure,
and
yeah.
also like and like in every other game there was like your Obi-Wan figure that's like, oh, you're initiating into this order, here are the moves you're gonna get, and this is just like, hey, drop some points into this thing and now you can
Your eyes will glow.
or like no, like literally now you have berserk darts.
Yeah.
Like okay, every other Assassin's Creed game I have played has had like somebody else be like, hey, I built you this thing, they're berserk darts, or
Well,
like
they do have that
You
in
don't.
the game.
There's no Q in this game or no.
no,
M?
I haven't gotten to
Really?
it yet.
Well,
There's
someone does present you with the wrist blade at one point, like that new technology.
that they literally found somewhere. Like unexplained.
I thought they said that like someone built it for them.
I think they found it and like that's it. Like I don't know. There's some like stuff in there that's just like this just has stripped out a lot of the lore part that I liked, and I kind of got off of it because the lore went in really shitty places. But also, I really don't like the present day stuff either.
Oh, the present day stuff, like
that character is not good.
It would have been better served not even being in there.
Yes,
I agree with that.
Has that ever been that? I mean, I don't know. I came into the series late, but that's always been not great.
The early stuff was promising.
The first few games, like that was the whole point of the game,
Right.
Was to see where the meta story
and
went.
it didn't go in a great
I
place.
mean, yeah, it
it
went to shit at the end, but
like now it's like almost incomprehensible. Like I must have spent a good half
Well, if
hour.
you read the comic.
So I read her computer. Did you guys open her laptop
Yeah.
and go
Yes.
through all the stuff there?
No.
It's a lot of info dump that is also just not very good.
Yeah, it's pointless.
It's like stuff where they were like, "Oh, we want to maybe mention Desmond at some point
Right,
in
yeah.
case we want to do something with that someday."
And like here are some old blueprints of old Animus machines. Like that's
You're
cool.
All right, I guess.
But, like,
and like a weird reference to the movie.
Yeah.
It was
when
pretty funny.
She built the thing,
Yeah.
the armature that because the movie is ridiculously bad.
Yeah.
And there's this giant armature that is now the Animus that hooks into your spinal cord so that you can jump and fly around because it's a movie and it needs to be. It needs to
Yeah.
not just be your main character lying
laying in a chair.
Yeah, and then they try to explain it that she built it, and there's just like all this kinetic interaction with it. Yeah, it's weird.
It's funny.
It feels
It's like it's
contractually
funny.
obligated.
It's kind of funny, but also just kind of like, no, that movie was real bad.
Wait, did they treat it totally seriously in the game?
It's well, I don't know. Like it's a document that you find where they just like address it, and I read that when like,
No, but then she's like, I think there's a major plot point where she's like, you guys got to let me go there and work on it. You can't keep cutting me out. And they're like, no, you're a loose cannon. You're a liability. You can't come to Spain or Madrid, whatever it is, to be in our movie.
So she's got a portable Animus that she's
they
stolen
make
and
them
taken to a pyramid.
because they make like agents that go out into the field now with briefcases. And god damn it, she invents a thing where you can like do the DNA from not the person, like the things that you like dead people. Like that's not the whole. You're not supposed to be able to use like blood found on a fucking ground. Like the whole thing
Technology advances, Vinny. Like this, you
was like
used
you're
not be
supposed
able
to have to be the.
Look, Vinny loves technology.
Can I just present like one potential counter argument to this? That shit was always incredibly fucking stupid.
But just like,
yes, it always was.
it was kind of stupid, but like the whole point was like you needed to be an heir of this person to go through your DNA, and that was. Listen, that can change. That's fine, but like, I just think they have completely lost the thread on Assassin's Creed.
I think they lost that stuff years ago when it got to be like,
and
I'm working for a video game company investigating someone else's memories.
Totally.
Like that stuff is always.
And that's like I kind of got out of it, and
Yeah.
that's why I think this was disappointing to me because I thought they were going to like figure it back out.
So I look at this as like they're figuring out a new thing because I'm guessing that. Well, I mean, like very directly with in some cases, but like that series has been going on long enough, and there's probably been enough a turnover on that team that at some point they're like, what does Assassin's Creed mean to us?
And they've made enough games, sure.
Yeah, it's a 10-year-old franchise. Like they had to do something new.
Yeah, or just put it to bed.
Well, that's,
Or
yeah,
that.
I mean, that's going to
This,
come up with
this
some
is
other
as close
things
to
here.
putting it to bed as we're going to get, though, because they reworked the combat in dramatic ways. Like in large ways, it doesn't even feel like an Assassin's Creed game.
That's what I'm saying.
And I view that as a positive, considering where Assassin's Creed was the past few years before that.
Yeah, maybe.
Like
yeah.
Black Flag's all right, Syndicate's all right,
Yeah.
but like it had been past due.
For me, it just seemed like they went and looked at like what's hot in the market and tried to put that into an Assassin's Creed game in a way that's like it's not working for me so far. Like those Destiny style menus with like the mouse cursor thing, I think is really silly. The combat, which doesn't, I don't know, it just feels spammy at times, and like other times feels like you haven't explained for how to counter stuff in a good way. But I'll figure it out. I don't know. For me, it was a disappointment. Like if other people are way into it, that's very cool. Like that's all right. You're entitled to your opinions. Not everybody.
I'm not mad.
Not everybody liked Assassin's Creed the way it was. I enjoyed Assassin's Creed 2 a whole lot.
I think it's the best one since Black Flag.
Syndicate's very.
I think it's
I think
better
it's
than
the
Black
best
Flag.
one.
I think it's
Yeah.
I think it's like the best one since Brotherhood, probably.
I really like Black Flag. I just am having a hard time. It just feels.
Well, we
like
can come back to
busy
this
work.
one. I feel like there's more we can cut first
Yeah.
on a first round pass.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's going to be a top
Yeah,
three.
is there any
Yeah,
way
I
that
don't-
No.
game
I
is
feel
going
like
to?
so many people are enjoying it.
I mean, there's no reason to take. We don't have to take it off the list right now, but
We can take ukulele off the list.
yeah, there's a lot of games on here that I'm like, kind of like, really?
Yeah,
probably
it's like it's not good. Ukulele isn't good, but like
I can't say I
there
was
are
like
much
overly
bigger
hyped for it.
disappointments.
But
Yeah,
I mean,
wasn't
people,
either.
people. I mean, yeah, maybe it's not us. I was going to say, but like there seemed like to be a widespread disappointment with that game.
Is it flat out bad? Like I
just
played, I
boring.
played 3-4 hours of it. Like I didn't hate it. It was okay.
It just
It's
seemed
not
unremarkable.
aggressively bad. It's just like it's not this like return to 3D platforming
Yeah.
that they sold.
Yeah,
as.
yeah, sure.
It's just pretty dry.
As the person who probably played the most Marvel's Capcom Infinite, I didn't really have super high expectations going in, and I'm more mad about Capcom's business practices around the game than the game itself.
Sure.
What did they do?
The cast was like 20 out of the 24 20 out of the 28 characters were in Marvel's Capcom 3 and have like the same moves and stuff.
Oh, right.
And all
You
the
have
characters
license
cost like
from like both those universes to have this huge cast of characters that they've always done in games prior.
Right,
And,
like,
there's a lot of carryover.
Like Wolverine is the big one, right?
and it's $8 a piece for DLC characters.
It's
Oh,
pretty ridiculous.
each character?
That's bananas.
They sell them in like discounted packs.
You can get a season,
You can get-
like
yeah,
a
the
fight
season
pass
pass.
or whatever. Yeah.
Boy.
But yeah, the game itself is pretty good.
It's fine. It's fun. For the most part, it's fun to watch. I think, but at the end of the day, it's like as a casual player, like in that universe, it's not doing much for me.
No, it's not amazing, not terrible.
We can take Double Dragon 4 off of here. I put it on there just because they made a numbered Double Dragon game, and boy, does it suck. But at the same time, I almost forgotten that game was going to come out before it did, and I can't imagine anyone had any super high expectations for it. It was just a bummer.
Yeah, the only thing that created any expectations for that was them calling it Double Dragon 4, where you're like, oh, shit, that's crazy. And then you think back and go, actually, Double Dragon 3 was pretty terrible.
Yeah.
Which one was the fighting game?
That was 5 or something. Like
I think it was 5.
Yeah.
But I got confused because 4 just came
Right.
out.
Yeah, the Double Dragon
exactly.
lineage is kind of broken.
Yeah.
I think we can also remove the Night Trap game. I played that one, and but I think we all know it's going to be bad. It's Night Trap.
has
Trap is never-
always
was
sucked.
never good.
Yes, the reason I put it on there is because it's like
The level of
it's like a shitty for a thing that like was like weirdly pivotal and historical in its weird way. Even in light of it being a bad game, I feel like they didn't do even that game justice with like the interface changes they made.
Also, the quality of the video that they
Quality of the
restored,
video was
like,
not. Yeah, I mean, and maybe that's
didn't
something
they-
to work
didn't-
with, but
I should look this up without just saying it, but didn't they make promises around like the quality of the archival footage they were going to deliver that
I
they
think
did
they
not
did.
that they did not meet?
I seem to remember them saying that.
Yeah.
and there's stuff about it that felt like like I tried to play it on the PC and just like menus completely broken, all this other stuff for something where they're like it's not a top 3 game, but I have to say they did a fucking shit job of bringing Night Trap back. Like
They put that documentary in it.
maybe Night Trap doesn't deserve better. Like I'm tempted to say Night Trap deserves better, but actually maybe not. But I was hoping for like here's this kind of like definitive updated version of Night Trap that we can like look back on in 10 years
For all those times you wanna play Night Trap.
instead of having to dig a Sega CD out every time I want to hear that song. But it's a bummer.
Bad version of a bad game. So,
Yeah.
so I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
I would take Arms off here
Yeah.
because,
Yeah.
like, I don't think anyone saw Arms when it was revealed and thought, like, fuck yeah, this looks awesome. Like, I remember me and you played that New
Yeah.
York thing, and we were like, whatever.
I thought it
This
had
is-
decent potential, but
Yeah,
I
I
was
did
never
too.
like, oh yeah, this is like a game changer.
Yeah.
the end product is kind of exactly what I thought it was going to be.
I think it ended up being like
fine.
I'd say it ended up being like slightly worse than I thought it would
Oh,
be.
really?
But
Sure.
I will
Yeah.
say I was excited for it. I think partially because I was like, I have a new Switch. I need a game for it.
Right.
But and I did think it was fun at first. But I also think like, yeah, it's fine not being there.
Like,
I think
it's like
it
it's
was
not
kind of
being
new
able to-
going in.
It's new IP from Nintendo,
Yeah.
and you want that to
Yeah,
be a big deal.
that's
But
true.
Right.
Not having full controls without using motion controls was a big bummer. Because you couldn't steer the
Yeah,
punches
the individual
without-
punches,
Yeah.
which is a
That's
huge
bad.
part of that
That's
game.
bad.
It's like integral to the design.
It's just kind of what I thought it was, so I wouldn't say most disappointing.
Wait, are we taking Night Trap off or not?
Oh yeah.
yeah,
we
let's
do,
take Night Trap
yeah.
off.
Alright.
It's fine.
I assume I've played the most Ruiner here. I got like halfway through it. unless
I
anybody
played
else-
less of it because I was so disappointed by it that I was like,
Really?
man, I love the look of this game,
Yeah,
but boy, I
it looks-
fucking hate playing it.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah,
I didn't
don't
hate
like
it.
anything about it.
I didn't hate it.
Watching
I
that
don't
quick
love
look
it.
seems
I didn't hate it
like a
either,
chore.
but yeah, I was super jazzed for this
Yeah,
game.
sure.
They totally nailed the aesthetic on that,
Yeah.
but it was not that fun to play.
It does not play as well as I would have liked, but it's not terrible.
I don't know if it's top 3.
It might not be top 3, but
Yeah.
like that game
Yeah.
for as many times as we saw it, and every time I saw it, going like, fuck.
Yeah, the
fuck yeah.
look of it is pretty amazing.
And then actually getting in my hands, going, oh, this is I don't like a time to uninstall was
yeah.
very fast.
Also, I read the story goes nowhere good in that thing.
Did anyone have high
But-
expectations for Agents of Mayhem?
No, but
not
like I was
really.
curious what that team would do.
I mean, the next game from the Saints Row developers,
Yeah.
like the first time we saw it,
If we want to take the full breadth of expectations into account, that after that first E3 meeting we saw it at, I was being polite because you are polite to games that are that unfinished.
Yeah.
But I was like, if this thing doesn't shape up a lot from what I just saw, there are major problems.
yeah, well, it was a thing where you see it for the first time and you go, oh, well, this is definitely early, and then no, that's just what that game ended up being.
Right.
And-
So in that sense, I had zero expectations for that thing.
yeah,
It looked bad
at that,
from
from that point. Seeing it as an early game and assuming that, like, well, they've got a long time to work on it, it'll probably be a lot different. Like, that's disappointing. But like, there were enough check-ins along the way where you're like, oh,
I feel like sure, it was the next game from the Saints Row team, but they were not out there saying like, "Hey, we're the Saints Row team, and this is our next big
right.
follow-up
And
game."
a lot of
like,
people took off. You know, they lost some people along the way for sure.
I mean,
so,
it's definitely in that universe, and they use the logo and everything. So it is
The
kind of
same
like,
color
hey, remember
scheme.
Saints?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, they're playing off that pedigree, like for sure. Like they're
but like they're never really coming out and saying it.
It's less that it's disappointing and more that it's just bad.
yeah, it's a bad game.
I mean, if we went back to 2011, if we went back and talked to 2011 us and said, hey, 2 games from now they're going to put out a really terrible game in the wake of Saints Row the Third, we would have been super fucking bummed.
Yeah, I would have been
now,
bummed, but also
now,
I would
not
have
so
been
much.
like, well, this is the first good game they've made in the Saints Row series.
I don't know about that.
So maybe
Saints
it's
Row
not
2
surprising.
What I'm saying is it's been long
Hoop
enough since that game that this does not feel like a huge surprise.
Plus,
at this
Gat
point.
Out of Hell was bad.
Yeah, Get Out of
Saints Row
Hell.
Get Out of
4
Hell
was
was bad.
good.
Saints Row
Get
4
Out of the
was-
Hell was bad.
Saints Row 4 was pretty good, but like
Saints Row
not,
4
it was
was
the
pretty
three.
It was,
good.
Saints Row 4 was the limit on that, where they're
Yes.
like, okay,
Yes.
you went back to the well, you have to flush all this.
And then
'cause
Get
you
Out of
can't.
Hell is just like, oh no, we don't
Stop.
want this.
Get Out of Hell was bad.
Johnny Gat's a bad character.
Always has been.
And then they put him in Agents of Mayhem, so fuck Agents of Mayhem.
He's not great. Berserk and the Band of the Hawk. I'm a huge Berserk fan, and I had high hopes because you know what? This is the Dynasty Warriors.
Is that the Big Sword anime?
It is, yeah. Like
Wait,
this
which
is,
one?
You know,
This is
the anime with the big sword.
Biggest sword. Okay.
this is the perfect environment for Guts who just like wreak havoc. Like this is the perfect encapsulation of like what this anime should be in this engine, cutting down like hundreds of dudes.
Was it a Megaforce?
Yeah,
Was it
it was
really?
in Megaforce, and they've made okay games, right?
There are levels within the Omega
Yes.
Force verse.
Totally. But this one in particular definitely seemed like a step back. Like it was the most generic like Dynasty Warriors formula that they possibly could have applied to this game. So that was a huge disappointment for me
They
personally.
gave it the B
but
team.
Something went
Mm.
on there.
It is a
but-
big sword.
Yeah.
At the same time, I would say, like, you know,
There
as
was
soon as the
not a
Omega
huge-
Force name is on it, you have
I
some
know.
expectation. And they didn't even meet those, but
Yeah.
at the same time,
I know. That was just my big personal disappointment.
that's
Uh,
fair. That sucks.
On top of that, around the same time, Friday the 13th.
Holy shit!
That seems like a strong contender.
Yeah, I wasn't even thinking of that game, but I played a lot of it. Even post-launch, like this is weeks after they said they fixed their server problems. It was anytime you spawned into a game and you were not Jason, you had a 50% chance of the host leaving because the host was not
Everybody
Jason,
wanted
and
to
then
play
the
Jason.
game would crash.
Let's set the record
table that
straight.
guy.
Like my impression is people want to really like that game. Right?
Yes,
like,
and
it seems
there's
like the
certainly
underlying
elements about
game
that
is
that
really
are
good.
Yeah, there's some really smart
No,
stuff that's going
I
on.
disagree.
Is that
I
not
think
the
the
case?
underlying game is bad.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think that the core design concept of
Okay.
that game is good.
So it's not just that it's broken all the time, right?
Yeah, I mean
Yes.
that is a big part of it.
I think that's the biggest part.
Right,
I
but
think
I
it
think
had-
the gameplay is also not so
Okay,
good because as
okay.
far as I could tell, I played a bit of it, but it was very much like you couldn't get better because you would die immediately, or you'd be. It's
Yeah.
like if you're Jason, you win. Is how I saw it, and it was also like there's all this stuff of like if everybody works together and finds all the pieces, then they can escape. But it's so hard
Like
to do
getting
that. Like
random strangers to
impossibly
do that.
hard.
Hard to do, yeah.
It also felt very much like in the games that I played, like when you did manage to beat Jason, like 9 times out of 10, it felt like no one in the map actually knew why they had
Nope.
won or
Right,
succeeded. It was
exactly.
like an accident.
Wasn't that exactly the problem with Evolve? Like the monster kind of always won by default.
It was
That's what I remember.
And
Tough to
nobody
take
played
it down. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's different now. Like the campers always win.
Oh,
Really?
At this point, yeah, just the way that it's balanced currently, and like some exploits with being able to grab Jason and stun lock him and stuff
Yeah,
like that. Like nobody
the
likes
only
to
time I
play
killed Jason
now.
is because he glitched into my car and blew up.
Yeah.
There's a lot of janky stuff going on with that game for sure.
Those facial animations.
Yeah, I think that might be a top 3.
Yeah,
one.
that's we shouldn't cut that.
I'm going to put a star next to that.
We can talk more about that one. In a
We
bit.
can probably cut Mario Party. Like, I was excited going to Mario Party. I love Mario Party, but it's
What?
also like it's a mobile Mario Party, and
Yeah.
it's bad. It's bad.
I think it's a great idea. If they had that concept of the top 100 minigames, they put it on Switch, and they actually had a board game component to it, I think I would be very excited about that. But yeah, it just being on 3DS and everything.
Right, and even just like how you play the games. It's like I want to be able to play every game in a shuffle of games, but it's like I can play 4 games that I bring with like the AI's 4 games. I don't know, stupid.
It's like someone fucking walked into a room full of garbage, swept it all into a pile, and tried to sell it to you.
Well,
but
if it
the
was-
best garbage.
Yeah, it's good garbage.
The
I would
100
play-
best
Yeah,
pieces.
they took the
Like a
what
nice
they
banana
viewed
peel.
as the nicest garbage of the
Yeah.
garbage.
I think the very idea of this game is a paradox because no minigame in the history of Mario Party is in the top 100 of Mario Party
Yes,
minigames.
exactly.
True at all.
No,
That should be
Bumper
a
balls.
that should be a blank cartridge.
Yes,
I
exactly.
mean, the best Mario Party minigame is from Pokemon Stadium, and it's the sushi one. So
Oh, Sushi Go Round?
Yeah.
Yeah, Clefairy says is all right too, but
Yeah.
Sushi Go Round is the best.
But that's not even on because it's a different game.
Yeah,
I like
it's,
the cake
it's not
one.
Mario Party. Yeah, yeah. Well, Cake Factory is great.
Cake Factory is so good.
Yeah, Cake Factory is very good.
Did you say Cake Factory?
I said Cake Factory. Yes.
Was
I
anyone
wouldn't take that off.
Was anyone actually excited for NBA Playgrounds?
I wanted to.
yeah.
I wanted to believe it was going to be like another
But
NBA
did
Jam
you
style
believe-
game.
didn't they use?
No, I did not.
Didn't they use the phrase NBA Jam in the marketing?
They
they did.
were definitely
Or
trying to
implying it heavily?
imply
I mean, they
that-
were doing like, oh, we've got big head mode. Like they were
Yeah.
saying
Yeah.
things
yeah,
that
like they were trying to make another one of those, and that game is fucking bad.
I don't think it's the worst, but it's not good.
And like it's this whole card system with the players
Yeah,
that
that's
sucks.
right.
Like just
Who made it? Wasn't it like some weird like a developer
machine- I don't know.
developer
Yeah.
you would not expect
Yeah.
to make a game like that?
Yeah.
But also,
I
I feel like no one was really like anticipating
Yeah.
that game in any meaningful
No,
way.
that's fine. We can
Yeah.
cut it. But
Right.
that game when that game comes up, I am angry.
fair.
Likewise, 1-2 Switch.
Yeah, I'll say the same thing as I did with ARMS, where I think that game is what we thought it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like. I really wanted a new Wii Sports.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
really
Yeah.
wanted.
So
like,
did Nintendo.
Yeah.
Yes, and the fact that it didn't come with the game
Yeah.
and was so bad.
Come with the system. You mean.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
come with the system. And,
Yeah,
and
I,
was so
that
I
would've been
think
a fine
that's my
pack-in.
disappointed is like
I had a good
Right.
time in
Charge.
New York watching Dan milk a cow with that thing, and like all their talk about the HD Rumble stuff that
Yeah.
never really came to pass
Well, you can count the
elsewhere.
Not
balls.
until Mario did HD Rumble really.
Did it? Because
Like, find
I mean,
the
there's
moon.
Rumble in that,
yeah.
but I never.
Yeah, it was
really-
like
there was
the-
nothing that seemed like it was just like here's some Rumble.
Like
when you're
finding
walking
the
over the
finding the
moons.
moons.
Yeah.
But I mean,
and
that felt to
and
me-
it like it did it with the music. Sometimes it would like go into like when you would go into the Crazy Cap store that it would like rumble
Right.
with the
I mean,
music.
I don't really find that much different, like the Finding the Moons thing, than an Ocarina of Time when you had
than
that
SD
stone.
Rumble.
And yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's the same thing. When
H-
you're over
HD
a hole, you can
Rumble-
Oh,
bomb.
because it was had it 2 axes. No.
HD Rumble is fucking vibrating snake oil.
Nice.
I think it's nonsense.
I think it's cool.
think
You
it's
gotta feel
cool.
those ice cubes.
Yeah,
That is the one cool
That's
use
the
of
yeah.
it.
and So like you get that,
More
and
like
you're like yeah, and then
cold
like
as
the rest of
ice.
it doesn't. All right, cut
yeah,
it.
take
Just cut
that
it.
off.
I am going to say that after Dangerous Golf, Danger Zone, maybe not very surprising that it was not great.
Boy.
That's fair. I will just say it is incredibly dispiriting that they couldn't even make a good version of the thing they were known
Yeah,
for.
that
Yeah.
is very true.
yeah.
Yeah,
But
That is very
I'm
true.
with you that like the warning signs were in fact there.
Yeah.
Dangerous Golf was just confusing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What were
I
they
still
doing
I
there?
still play that because my son likes it.
Oh,
but
yeah?
it's still don't.
I love
really
the
enjoy
idea
it.
of it, but it's so weird.
Also, like, I don't know, Danger Zone is like kind of competently made, right? Like it basically
It's
is
not
crash. It's
broken.
basically crash mode. Like they basically made crash mode.
Yeah.
Like it's not amazing, but they kind of did what they.
the stuff
Set out
about
to
like
do.
falling through the map and because
Yeah,
like, when you lose or whatever, like some of that stuff is.
There are technical problems. They have.
No, that's
patched
not even
it.
technical
Oh,
problem. I
oh.
mean, just like that's like a you fell out of the game world because the level has, is of
like
a certain
missing
size.
the
Yeah, like some of that stuff's
But
weird.
actually, the
like,
look of it is probably the
yeah, the
worst
look of it
thing
is
about it
amazing.
to
the
me. Like,
camera stuff was weird.
Yeah, like the whole warehouse motif, not cool. But,
Even after Dangerous Golf, like when you hear that the Burnout guys
Yeah.
are making a car game, it's
Yeah.
like, well, okay, hang on. And then it's
Yeah.
Crash Mode, which is like, well, okay, Crash Mode was
lot of
fun,
people
but that
really
was a
like
smaller
Crash
part.
Mode,
Yeah,
so
but that was
yeah,
a
it
little
makes
bit of the
sense,
Burnout
but-
experience.
I guess we can leave it on the list. That's-
I don't think it's a top three.
No.
let's leave it for a little bit
Okay,
here. 'cause-
Bomberman R, cut that. I mean, it's a shitty
Bomberman has
game.
been bad for a while.
It's a bad Bomberman game.
Yeah.
There have been more bad Bomberman games than good Bomberman games.
You're right. You're all right.
Yeah.
I wish that Bomberman was good again.
If they just put that TurboGrafx one on the Switch, like that'd be great for the Joy-Con for like setting up, like For a Switch game.
I don't even know if I would want to go back to
No?
old Bomberman anymore. I think
Really?
I think it's just been broken beyond repair now.
Kind of had.
Like,
I played some old Bomberman recently and it was fun.
Yeah,
Good.
Act Zero?
it's good.
Yeah, X-Zero, the best Bomberman.
Yeah. Good story.
Jeff, how actually disappointed were you by Call of Duty World War II?
Not enough to be in the top 3. Like
Yeah.
if anything, it's like it's more middling than anything else. There was a time like I waffled back and forth on the score for that one between like a 2 and a 3, which is like the lowest I've felt about a Call of Duty in a good long time, but came out of it in the end.
Seems
going
like it's been kind of a
it's-
gradual
Sure, yeah.
shift in that direction.
And if anything, this game is like maybe slightly better in some ways than last year's game, but also the campaign's less ambitious. Like it's a mix. Ultimately, it is not pure disappointment. So I would probably cut it because there are games on this list that are exactly that.
Cut.
Mass Effect Andromeda stays on this list.
Agreed.
Dude.
Man, Battlefront's such a weird
I think
thing.
Battlefront stays on this list.
Yeah, but it's just,
Maybe?
that's just. Does that apply to here, or does that apply? Like, there's a lot of categories where this is going to
Yeah.
Well, no,
apply.
I mean,
yeah.
I think it totally does apply to this category.
Look
Well,
at-
because that was the thing that people wanted was they wanted the campaign and they wanted like a better
Space
progression
battles.
system,
Exactly.
and that they were saying like all their marketing and
Yeah.
messaging was like, "Hey, we heard you the first time around. We're making this is the one you wanted the first
brought in
time."
the
And-
game
it's got a
changers.
campaign.
We've
It's
got
got
it
more
solved.
maps. It's
Jake
got
Paul
more
loves
heroes.
this game. Yeah.
And the thing that makes it even more disappointing on top of everything else is that you can see the
Yes.
glimmer
Yes.
of something super good in that game.
Well,
You have to cut through so much
It's
bullshit.
not even.
That's a good
it's-
point.
there's that aspect of it, but also I think a lot of it is like if you look at the previous Battlefront, and you go like, well, this is like really sound, but it's just too shallow.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily it needs a campaign. It's that the multiplayer just needs more, and they just need to do something more with this to flesh it out. And then it seemed like that they got the message on that in a few different ways because they were like, well, we're going to do a campaign. Also, we're going to work to flesh out the multiplayer.
Yeah.
And then they fleshed it out with like the fucking worst scam of the century. And
Also,
and
like,
the campaign story is not good.
No.
Loot box stuff aside, their solution to expanding the multiplayer was just to make more of it. right?
Exactly.
Like, it's
And-
still
and-
just the same objective
Yeah.
modes. It's like
if anything,
Yeah.
the way they've kind of handled how you spawn as the heroes and stuff like that, like the changes they made to the multiplayer, I think are in some ways a step back.
yeah. But also, like more broadly, like the idea that the new Battlefront, like the Battlefront reboot, is a Call of Duty clone, as opposed to like think about the expansiveness of the old Battlefront
Oh, sure.
games. Like
Yeah.
you're like taking over planets and there's these big like epic
Yeah,
battles.
they made
with vehicles.
Space Battlefield
Right.
with hero
Yeah.
characters. you
Right.
know? Yeah,
Like,
it's
like old Battlefront had like an amazing legacy that they
Right.
totally have discarded and not gotten back.
and
gotten
the
back to.
loadout options are really poor, and
Yeah.
just a lot of the action is really flat in ways that I feel like are worse than the previous Battlefront.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's aside from any microtransaction stuff whatsoever.
yeah.
The progression system I think is bad on its own, but like just straight up what that game is poor.
I can't believe how much they fucked it up. It's unbelievable how fucked that game is.
like at every
It's
checkpoint.
still not fixed, too.
Not at all.
No.
Like the idea that the makers of Battlefield did not just make Star Wars Battlefield.
Yeah.
Yeah.
like what?
That
And
should be such a layup.
you could start
Right.
to wonder, like, oh, well, maybe they're constrained because, like, ultimately these are all
License and stuff.
fucking laser guns, and how do you make 9 different laser guns to
Yeah,
like
and-
make a good progression there? So they made 4 or whatever it was, you know, like.
Hey, they're not
Maybe
all
get
laser.
situations
All right,
like
there,
that.
there are carbines. Listen, there's a lot of stuff going on there.
Yeah, so I think that game probably. I would say that game stays.
Yeah.
Put a star next to
Well,
it.
let's talk about the other ones that are on
there's some,
here.
I think Shadow of War.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
up until release, and people started telling me that so I haven't played it, and like that for me is kind of a personal disappointment because I
Right.
really like the first.
It's as someone who played 70 hours of that thing, it does not belong in this list. It is not bad enough to be on this list. It is.
I was so bummed out by
Okay.
it though. 'Cause
Me
How
too.
much
Yeah.
I loved the first one.
Yeah.
Like going to this one, I was pumped, and it was just like it's fine. It's just like boring, and it's like the combat feels pretty good.
I don't agree that it's boring at all.
I
Like
don't-
they did so much to the Nemesis
it's-
stuff. Like the
right.
biggest problem with this game is it's just there's too much of it.
There
Like,
is
it
too much.
overstays
Yeah, I
its
guess
welcome.
that's my issue more. Is like I will be running to go do something, and then like a dude is like, "I'm an orc, and
Yeah.
I'm going to come attack you,"
Yeah.
and it's like I can't walk 2 feet without like falling on orcs.
It's definitely very busy.
It's
Right.
it's
Yeah.
not just busy, like it's cacophonous. Like it is
Yeah.
it is
Yes.
so hard to focus on the things that you really like in that game because 17 different things are all vying for your attention.
It definitely does trip over itself.
And it also-
And
from
that
time to
end
time.
game, man.
But
Right.
yeah, so like I'm kind of like you were with Call of Duty, where I almost gave that game a 4. and pretty much ended up on the 3 because of that shitty post game
Yeah.
thing.
For me, I think I was way more disappointed with it than you are, to where like I didn't want to finish that game.
Yeah, I didn't
I
either.
think
I
I gave up
didn't
on it.
finish.
Yeah, I did
Yeah,
too.
a lot of the action in the game I think overstayed its welcome. Just
Right.
even going back to not only the first game, but also other games like that have had that style of combat.
Yeah.
Like this felt like the breaking point for the Batman combat for me. Like I don't want it anymore.
And I'm just going to throw this out there. Like, not only did they not rectify how boring and shitty that main character is, they somehow made him worse
Yeah.
in this one. Like,
Yeah.
he's even less interesting.
I didn't have a problem with the character in the first game, and in this one, I think he's just like way more flat. Like
Yeah,
I think
I
the
agree.
source storyline stuff is rotten, and then you tack on all that end game stuff, and like it's cacophonous in the way that it feels like we designed all these crazy emergent systems. But we want to make sure every player sees them, so we turned all the sliders all the way up, so
Yeah.
everything is always happening.
There's
Yeah.
some
Right.
there's
and
some
it's
of
like
that.
there's no restraint.
And it feels like there's no weight to anything
Yeah.
because it's just like constant.
Yeah.
Like I'm seeing orcs all the time. Whereas in the first game, I felt like when I killed an orc or when I died with an orc, it mattered. It made a difference. In this game, it was like
There will
nothing
always be more
matters.
orcs.
Yeah.
Like,
I think they
Yeah.
still did a good job with that. They would still bring back specific guys at the right times to make you feel like, I fucking hate that guy.
I think they fleshed that a lot more, in the
Yeah.
fact that, they kept changing armor, they kept having new stories to tell you
Yeah.
about, the previous encounters. I
Yeah,
felt more
yeah.
invested in some of the Nemesis.
Totally. I feel like the core Nemesis stuff is like when they rein it in properly is fantastic
Real
in
good.
the game.
Yeah.
I mean, if this is the most disappointing game, we're talking about a game that we all decided was our game of the year like 3 years ago.
You're
Now we're,
right.
like,
You're
not even
right,
willing
but that
to
was
finish
also
it.
you're
Almost
not
right.
It was a
you're not
weak year.
wrong,
It
but
was
it
a
was
weak
also
year.
that was like a weird consensus, like de
It
facto
was.
pick.
It was
kind of
on a weak year, but
Yeah.
like
I
it
really
went
like
from
that
our
game.
game.
I love
of,
Yeah,
that
it's a
game,
fantastic
yeah.
game.
It's great.
It's a hell of a game.
And it went from our game of the year to listen to the tone of all us being like, we all got bored, we all fell off.
Yeah.
Like that's a huge fall from
This
the
was
first
a
one.
really fucking strong year for open world games too. So
Yes.
like it just
Yeah,
it
that's
just
a good
compared
point.
to everything else, it just seemed so flat.
Yes.
I think the Fortress stuff was like them kind of taking the Nemesis stuff in sort of the wrong direction.
Again, like I thought it was really cool right up until I had done it like 20 times, and I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
fucking,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
super sick of this, and you want me to do it another 30 times? But like for the first
I
few,
think I got super sick of it within like 15 hours.
like I thought it was fascinating that like it's like, okay, I can take over this guy and that'll have this effect on when I assault the fortress versus I can send a guy to backstab him and that'll have this other effect. Like there was a lot of kind of push and pull and like strategizing in taking over those fortresses that I thought was cool.
What about NBA?
All right. So here's the thing about this. It's not that NBA 2K18 is uniquely disappointing in the sense that the things I have a problem with in that game are the things they've been trending toward for the last couple of entries. The core basketball game of NBA 2K18 is still very fun. It is still one of the most like smart technical representations of a sport you will find anywhere. But one of the big draws for that game has always been the career mode and the way they do the my player stuff and, kind of building up your own character with your own dumb face and sort of making them into an NBA superstar. And then in the time since they had the unbelievable Spike Lee fiasco, they have kind of pulled away a little bit from the actual storytelling and that stuff to the point where the story in this one has like an intro, and then every game there is like a bad cutscene where you and like a couple of other characters that you see throughout the story have like a completely meaningless interaction. Like it's supposed to make you feel like, oh, you're in the locker room and you're hanging out with your friends, but it's just chaff. Like it's just garbage. None of it's funny or particularly charming. Like, and they bookend every game in that mode. There is a little scene with that, and it's just pointless. And on top of that, the progression system has been fucked to such a degree that I spent, I'm going to say 15 hours playing that thing, and my stats like went up from 60 to about 68, 69 maybe. And it was not nice.
That does not sound nice.
Yeah.
They definitely. I've heard a lot of complaints this year about like the progression stuff leading to, hey, you should maybe buy some 2K currency
the
or whatever
VC,
they call it.
the virtual currency, and like
Viet Cong?
So they've been trending toward that for a while. Like people have been complaining about this stuff for multiple years, and it's been bad to not awful in some of the other ones. But this one, it just felt like such a grind in the worst way. And I don't know. I was just like incredibly bummed out by it because they've been taking one of the best modes in sports games and just it feels like they've run out of ideas for that thing. They just need to find a way to hook you in for as long as humanly possible, and it's just not fun. Also, they put you into this hub world city that is like weirdly large and empty. And if you want to go buy stuff or interact with other characters or go to the online court to play street ball, you have to walk there manually. There's no menu where you can just like select that stuff.
That sucks.
That's terrible.
It's just bad design.
Yeah.
Sounds like the tower.
So I don't know if it's most disappointing game, but like I needed to vent about that.
That feels
thing.
like a pretty strong case.
Yeah.
For maybe leaving it on for now.
The basketball is pretty good, though, right?
But that's the thing. The core basketball, the part where you just play with NBA teams against other NBA teams, is still really good.
I think, yeah, in a lot of ways, like, well, not in a lot of ways, this franchise has kind of been the best thing in sports for a long time.
Yeah.
What was Spike Lee's level of involvement?
Not
This year, none.
They have excised him entirely since that 1 year.
How many ghosts?
No ghosts.
Okay.
That is disappointing.
That was that one guy with the eyelids. It was like kind of
Yeah, that was more of an
It's like-
abomination than a
kind of
ghost.
It's more of like a specter.
All right, I might say that we could cut both the driving games from this list. Forza is a similar case in a lot of ways, where like the base aspect of it is totally fine. Like the driving is as good as it's ever been.
It looks great.
It looks fucking-tastic. The weather effects are neat, but just everything they changed about the progression and the way you move through that career, and then the kind of mod box stuff, and they had to get out there and apologize for changes they made to the game at launch that they kind of had to unfuck. Like I think that game is not a gigantic disaster. It's disappointing, but it's maybe not the most disappointing.
I don't know about the other one. I don't know about cutting that other one.
Need for Speed.
Like, what were the like, were you guys
I
pretty
don't
excited?
know.
Yes.
Oh, really?
But like, I
It's
mean,
like hard for me to get excited.
I
for
got
a Need for
excited
Speed
up
game.
to the 2 weeks beforehand when they still weren't saying anything about it.
Yeah.
At that point, my realistic expectations started to set in.
Yeah.
But
Oh.
like the way they were talking about it, about being like influenced by Fast and Furious, and that demo that they showed off at E3 was really fucking cool.
Yeah.
But like,
They took a year
any-
off, which it felt like they needed to do. Like they were setting
I
the
don't-
stage for this to like with Assassin's Creed, setting the stage to like, wait, we're gonna make some dramatic changes
Yeah.
and do some stuff, and then the changes they made were to push further in the direction of loot boxes, which they've had to apologize, like kind of more quietly than the Battlefront stuff, but definitely in the wake of the Battlefront stuff, they had to say like, hey, we're making some changes to credit earnouts and progression stuff because sorry.
I don't know. Any excitement I had for that thing was provisional because the last game was already terrible. And like the head of the studio left, and
Yeah,
you know,
they've-
X, Y, and Z.
You could start to connect the dots on
Yeah,
that thing.
yeah.
Like, but if your full view of this game was E3 and then release,
Yeah.
that would be incredibly disappointing.
that dude fucking sucks so much. This may be the worst video
character,
game
yeah, but
protagonist
writing
ever.
is
It's
pretty
just
bad.
fucking garbage.
Pretty
Holy
bad.
shit! Like,
What's his name?
Laser.
Tyson. No, you take that back. Tyler.
Okay. Let me see him.
And just
Oh, that's a really exciting looking
and there's
character.
just like it's just like hyper generic dude.
You described him as like a really, really bad Adam Scott character.
yeah.
David Boreanaz.
And there's just like there's aspects to this
Boreanaz, yeah.
where they're just like they try to play off like he's got a rough upbringing.
Yeah,
He's-
like they
he's
try to
keeping
get
it real.
Yeah, he's like
he's from the barrio.
Are you Tyson from the barrio?
He's from the barrio. And you're just like, oh fuck you. And the script written around it is embarrassing.
it's maybe not top 3, but it is very strong disappointment.
This is the sort of thing that like I don't know where they go from here in terms of like they took the year off. They did all the things that like you think they're supposed to do when they need to make dramatic changes to a franchise. Like it feels like they tried to do a lot to this and it came out and this game is fucking bad. I look at this and this is like I don't know that you can make another Need for Speed
That was
game.
my initial
Well,
reaction.
so that was, I think that was my thing. Is like if they made a good Need for Speed game, it would be like most surprising at this point.
yes,
Like,
yes,
yes,
that's
absolutely.
also where I was
Yeah.
at.
because it's just been so weird with that franchise.
They really don't know what to do
They
with
are
it.
really.
But
lost.
I look at this and this is like not too far off from Mass Effect territory where you look at it and go like, you killed a franchise.
Yeah.
A long-running, like, valuable IP. You have, like, put another
I've been
bullet
sitting
into
here
it.
fucking simmering this entire
Oh,
conversation.
but like, dude, there's nothing. No one needs to make a case.
No,
for
I know,
Mass
I
Effect.
know, I know, but I'm still, I'm still angry.
You're gonna get your moment to just like let it all out.
But
in a
I do
minute,
feel like Need for Speed kind of had like a kind of a slow boil on that stuff of like, oh, this is you guys are suck. This is not good. This is not good.
Yeah,
Where
no,
Mass Effect was just just threw you into a fireplace and was just like, wow, I got.
I should have fucking given that game 1 star. I should have done it.
wow.
That game was fucking awful.
You're right, but also Mass Effect 3 ended on a kind of a down note.
It did, but like
Mass
a
Effect
lot
3
of
was
that
good.
game is seems like
end was
people
fine.
really liked it.
But also, Mass Effect 3 probably was a good We should have intervened with EA at some point at Mass Effect 3 with like them changing the ending and stuff and being like, is everything okay? And we ignored a problem, and now here we are at Star Wars Battlefront 2. And we should have.
You got to disinfect this thing before it gets
Yes.
infected, and then Mass Effect Andromeda is the thing that happened because like it says like festering boil.
Yes, we should. I feel like it's almost my fault.
Yeah, it burst and then like things crawl out of it, and I'm like, this isn't supposed to happen to a person.
Yeah.
All right, well let's figure out what we want to put with the festering boil.
Well, the last thing we haven't talked about here is Animal Crossing.
That's right.
That's
Yeah.
a huge disappointment
It's
for me.
It
really
was.
disappointing.
It's a real bummer.
At the same time, nobody's liked any of their mobile games, so
That's the thing.
Yeah.
But like, I think
Yeah.
what's disappointing to me is that like I really want a new Animal Crossing game.
This
and
felt like
since-
it could have been the
It
one.
could have been great.
Right, but since we don't know now whether they haven't said they're working on one for Switch, I mean, you would hope so.
I think that the assumption is relatively safe.
Going back to New Leaf after they added all that like welcome amiibo stuff and like all the
yeah?
patches they've put into it,
Yeah.
like even without having amiibo, like there's new stuff in that
Like,
game.
there's a bunch of
there
amiibo
is.
stuff I can do in there.
They
so I
also
can play
added
a
a
really
bunch
good
of
Animal
amiibos.
Crossing with my amiibos.
I have no idea
Oh, that
how
sounds
it
pretty
works.
good.
I
but,
think it like gives you furniture or something.
Okay.
I think is what a lot of it is.
that game is still really good.
Yeah,
That
New
game
Leaf's
is-
incredible.
That game is so good.
You should go play more.
I
of
think
that.
Maybe I'll
it's
just play more
improved
New
on
Leaf.
it.
Just maybe.
Yeah.
Why am I
I
not
could-
playing that?
I could
Yeah.
imagine a game like that on a cell phone.
Yes.
Yes, just
Yeah,
put New
totally.
Leaf on a cell phone. That'd be
the
great.
problem is that they can't get away with charging on a cell phone what they would need to
Right.
charge to justify a game
sure,
of that
yeah.
scope. So
Yeah.
that was
I get
never
it.
going to
But
happen.
Even like a tiny game, I'm fine with.
That's the thing, though, is that like with Pocket Camp, it's not even so much the mechanics of it because,
No,
like,
not
of
at all.
course they
No.
designed these things to work this way for a mobile experience. It's the decisions they made around it, like like making all the characters in that game like incredibly demanding of you for just complete bullshit for no good reason. Like, okay, they come hang out in your camp, so fucking
And
what?
no
And just-
charm. in
Yeah.
the writing.
Yeah,
You're just
no
checking
charm.
boxes.
With the exception of the mechanics, like I feel like every person I've encountered or every animal I've encountered and try to get them to camp, it's just like here's this pushy asshole that will maybe visit my
Yeah,
campground.
if you impress
Yeah.
me with an
and I'm just
orange,
like, fuck off, don't come.
Right.
Don't
and
come to my
also,
fucking campground.
just not enough freedom in like the
No.
design
Yeah.
aspect
No.
of
Yeah.
it,
That's
which
my
is like
biggest
such
problem.
a big part of this.
Yes.
Like that's what this game is. That's
Yes.
the motivation
I
for
want to
like
fucking
literally
trade
everything.
fruit with people. This game, they finally made it so fruit stacks in your inventory,
and this is what they did
fucked
with
up
it.
everything else.
Like that's the thing is like it was leisurely. Animal Crossing was always leisurely in that you load it up once a day, you walk around, you do your chores, you do your business, chat with a hippo or something, and just it was a relaxing game. And there's nothing relaxing about Pocket Camp. Like you load it up, and it's like, all right, what's on my checklist? What are my stretch goals here? Like you feel like you're just checking these boxes. It doesn't
want
feel
you to-
leisurely at all.
That's to put that money in to make it go faster.
That the word stretch goal is in that game
Yeah.
makes me hate it even more.
But yeah, you can't just stroll around. Like it's just these tiny little areas you go
Yeah.
to on a map. It's not Animal Crossing for me.
It's joyless.
I guess I think it is a big disappointment, but when it compares to some of these other ones,
Yeah, that's
it is
fair.
a mobile game. We're going into it being like it is maybe 50-50, and that's being generous. So I would be fine getting rid of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I don't think it's top 3.
Yeah.
It's also free, right?
It's
Yeah.
free.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's free, and there some people enjoy some aspects of it, and that's
I also
fine.
don't think the monetization in that game is like atrocious.
No, I don't think so at all.
Not at all. It's just a bummer because like when we loaded it up
It's a-
that first day, it's like, hey, this might be a real Animal Crossing game. Oh, the
Yeah.
fishing works all right.
It
But-
absolutely is a
yeah.
bummer.
That
but-
first hour is what makes it all the more disappointing once
Yeah,
you get
yeah,
past that.
yeah, totally.
Yeah.
It's a
Alex,
bummer.
NBA.
Nah, I can go.
Okay.
I've purged that from
You've said your
my
piece.
soul. Yeah,
I feel like we've got a like stronger cases than Danger Zone on this list.
Yeah,
I
I
agree.
would probably cut that.
Yeah.
And we can cut Assassin's Creed Origins. It's not the Assassin's Creed game I want, but it seems like people like it. And it'll probably make my top 10. I've heard it goes good places in the end. Like again, I don't think it's a bad game, but it's not the Assassin's Creed game I want.
Yeah.
And they have gotten so far away from Assassin's Creed 2 at this point that I think it's unrecognizable from what I originally.
If they had
liked.
removed all the Animus stuff from that and just called it something else, how would you feel about it?
I think it would probably just be, I don't know, like open world. Like I'm maybe not into it at all.
Like just as a game, you're not.
I just don't like the loot grind stuff. Like I don't like that mechanic. Like it's just like why do I have to keep checking my weapons to see if I got a better scythe? Like
Yeah.
and like doing experience for like the upgrade tree is intense. Like
That's intense. But like the loot stuff, I mean, they tell you when you pick up the weapon, if it like they tell you how much more or less powerful it is than your weapon, like right when you pick it up. I never found myself
so it feels
chored by it.
It feels-
Disassembling and selling old weapons sucks.
but it feels like the Assassin's Creed game for me. This feels like I'm looking at video game mechanics happening on screen.
I like that.
Yeah, so I don't like that. Like Assassin's Creed games were kind of like for me like I'm getting lost in this kind of historical fantasy world of assassination, and this is just like watch the numbers grind. There's like numbers when you hit guys. Like
and
like
damage numbers is a pretty
it's like,
weird change.
Yeah, it's like what am I playing here?
It sounds like more of an RPG than it used to be.
Definitely. I mean, they've definitely at least like layered some of that stuff on top.
Like all the rumors about like, hey, we're looking at The Witcher a lot for this. Sound
Definitely.
like they really were borne out.
But even The Witcher has like, hey, we're gonna like take our lore very seriously, and like we're gonna kind of flesh out these characters in really interesting ways to help you get lost in it. And this, I'm just kind of constantly getting slapped in the face with like loot and upgrade trees and like. Also there are a lot of loot boxes in it, but like they're not that egregious. You go to the kid and buy loot boxes or whatever you want to do, or your weird daily quests. But I don't know. It like lost a lot of the charm for me of that mystique of that series. And
I don't think I realized that kid sold loot boxes.
I think he
does.
Sell, I think he sells loot boxes.
He sells like a crate.
It's so de-emphasized in that game.
Yeah,
like they're
it's not
barely
a big deal.
existent.
Still, fuck that kid.
and I think you get your daily quest from him, where you get your daily reward.
yeah, that's I was just going in for the daily quest stuff.
Sure.
I didn't realize
but like
that.
again, like I think it's probably not a bad game, and I'm going to keep playing it. It's just like
It's not quite what you wanted.
Yeah.
from an Assassin's Creed game. Sure.
Yeah, I think if you're going in with like, I want a true Assassin's Creed game, it's not good. But if you're going in being like, I want a game that's gonna not be like these bad Assassin's Creed games I played, it's like not the true. It's not improving on like the original stuff of what made Assassin's Creed good. It's improving on like what made it bad, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if they put out an Assassin's Creed 2 style game today,
Right.
if that would play.
Like, yeah, if they just made here's a direct sequel to Brotherhood,
It probably
that,
wouldn't
like,
play. And like you still can't in the loading screens, you cannot hit up on the D-pad and make your wrist blade come out.
Yep.
And that's a mistake.
Yep,
And that's a mistake that they
that's
have
a
not.
bummer,
problem
yeah.
that they should have.
But you can do hood on or off.
You can whistle. You can whistle.
You can do
during
beard
during
on
the
and
load
off, too.
screen. You can whistle for your horse. Yeah, because I just jammed out on the D-pad the whole time. And,
Does the camel come?
The camel does
no,
come.
not in the loading screen. I'm saying the loading screen because
I want the camel to trot into the little
that would make it a lot better. I will say, technically, as a modern Ubisoft Assassin's Creed game, it seems pretty sound, and that's kind of an
I've
achievement.
had very few problems.
What little
They've
jank
gotten
I've
better in
seen-
general. Like
Yeah.
Watch Dogs was fine last year.
I had
think.
a pretty good moment that made me laugh, where I had to like hijack a chariot or something like that, and immediately as I jumped in, it took a left on a bridge where the chariot was sitting here, and the horses were
Everyone.
just running left.
Everyone has had that
that's
issue.
the exact thing I tweeted.
Oh,
yeah,
everyone has.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the one moment, and those
That's pretty
horses
funny.
just dangled
Yeah,
there
they
for a
just
while.
dangled there
and
for a while.
fell.
It's incredible that everyone has had that exact same left turn that resulted in that exact same
Wow.
thing.
So
It's like
yeah,
a passage of
Yeah,
rings.
go
Yeah.
to my Twitter if you want to see the exact moment
Yeah.
he's talking about.
so I don't know. Like, it's not the game. It's not the Assassin's Creed
Yeah.
game I want, and that disappoints me. But like,
Sure.
I don't think it's. People seem to like it, and I don't know if it's disappointing on a grand scale, like
On a
some of
team
these,
scale.
on
Yeah.
some of these other levels where like I'm having trouble going back and playing these other games. They are so heartbreakingly.
Yeah.
Yeah, speaking of heartbreak, I mean, Vinny, I watched you play Mass Effect Andromeda. Like, I saw just the disappointment in your eyes as you were going through that.
Dude, you fucking don't know the half of it.
Mass Effect Andromeda for me is like a one of those. It's the crystal skull of like Mass Effect for me, where it's just like I don't want to talk about it in terms of being in the Mass Effect franchise. Like there are 3 Indiana Jones movies. Like Crystal Skull doesn't count, and like I want to say like Mass Effect is like kind of like it's it's not in there.
There's,
like
there's,
Beverly
there's a
Hills Cop
trilogy of
3.
games, and that's all.
it's
Yeah.
it's the Mass Effect trilogy. It's a perfect universe, and then it's like Mass Effect Andromeda feels like a weird fan fiction.
I will say I haven't played any of the Mass Effect games, but I have heard some things about folks playing it and being like, once you push through the jank, it's like, oh, it's
No.
fine. No, really?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
I guess my sources are bad.
Like the bug stuff is a problem, but like it's the story and the way they
Really?
tell it
Yeah,
at the end of the
the
day.
story is very
Is
poorly
it,
done.
is
Like
the
it's the
gameplay
lore,
fun?
it's
Is
the-
the gameplay, the combat
captivating?
is actually like the one decent thing, and
Okay,
especially
maybe
the
that's what
one
they're talking
most
about.
improved thing about it is that
Right.
they really Like every game in that series, the combat got better and better.
I'm
But
a
it's
Mass Effect.
not enough.
I'm a Mass Effect 3 apologist. I thought the ending was good. I like a lot of. I am on the way more forgiving side of Mass Effect fans. I am not going to play Mass Effect Andromeda just from the things I heard about it. I'm
like
fine not playing that game.
If I find myself with a bunch of free time again, like I will, just because I like the Mass Effect universe. But like the Mass Effect games were probably the only games I know that I've ever played twice.
It makes poor use of the Mass Effect universe in like the laziest ways. Like
And
it's
it's
not even
such a
worth.
good
It's
universe.
not worth playing even for that reason.
Yeah, and like the setup for the story like lost me almost immediately.
Yeah.
Like in the first encounter stuff, where it's just like I have no agency here in this encounter where like this alien is like attacking my friend, and you're forced to like shoot the aliens and be like, no, we just spent like a half hour of this directive of like don't engage the aliens. Sorry, friend, you're dead.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to draw my weapon, and like it just winds up being this like. I don't need a setup for a game to be a bad Three's Company misunderstanding of like, you know, like, oh, you're hostile, you're not hostile. I don't know what happened here. I don't know. It was just really weird. And like the bug stuff aside, I couldn't get into it.
Yeah.
It's just it's a bad game.
They fixed a lot of that stuff, but
But they didn't fix the story.
it's a bad game.
Remember we broke that quest?
Yes, I do. Vividly.
That was just so weird.
I'm not sure that Friday hangs on here.
I don't know, dude.
Yeah.
This might.
I think
hold on. Like, I think I understand that a lot of people are not too into this style of gameplay. That's fine. I really do think that there's some smart things going on. I like what they're doing as far as like the treatment of the series. I think they're spot on with that, and there's a lot of love behind that. There's enough going on with that game that I've really like. I not applaud them for, but I see what's like. I don't know.
In some ways, doesn't
It's
that
okay.
kind of
didn't
make it
work
more
for
I know.
disappointing
Yeah,
because
'cause-
like that you can tell that there is a love there, but like
Yes.
just the mechanics of it
The
don't.
game literally was crashing on a consistent basis
Right.
for like 5 months after it came
Right.
out.
Yeah, and I'm trying to put aside like the gameplay mechanics themselves, like just keep that off to the side. What I am most disappointed is what you just said. The game crashing, failure to log in. That shit is still going on to a certain degree.
There's so much grinding you had to do to unlock
Oh,
like
sure.
costumes and abilities and like the random ability thing. I thought was really weird that it would like roll you a random ability that you could drop in a slot, and sometimes you got the same one, but it was like 0.01 better than the last one.
That maybe wasn't handled the best. Sure,
And it just sounds like the
agree.
balance of that game has just like, seesawed in various directions, but they've never actually struck it well.
Right.
My thoughts for that game on this list is I think maybe that's just a bad game, whereas like I don't think it has the same legacy as like a Mass Effect or like a Middle Earth game has to be most disappointing.
Do you remember in the quick look when literally all 3 games had a breaking bug in them?
Yeah,
I do.
totally.
Vividly.
Ugh.
Yeah.
But maybe that
think
just
it's just-
is
it's a
beyond
bad
disappointment.
game.
It's just
Yeah.
like a
It's
bad
worst
game.
But I do think it qualifies as disappointing because like even if it doesn't have the pedigree, because like Lord knows Friday the 13th does not have a great history in video games, but like conceptually on
take that
paper,
back.
the thing they were talking about sounded awesome.
Yep.
And even if you're just like a casual horror fan, like I'm not the biggest Friday the 13th stan out there. Like I think most of those movies are actually kind of bad, but conceptually I'm way into the thing that they were promising and trying to deliver on.
Same here.
And the way that they delivered on it is just a huge bummer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess for me, I think Middle Earth Shadow of War is far more disappointing, just considering how much I loved Shadow of Mordor and how excited I was for this game for like the months and months before it came out. Like I was pumped for this game for a long time.
Yeah.
And then to play like 7 or 8 hours and really walk away not feeling any good things for it,
Yeah.
it sucks.
It seems like you had higher expectations for it than anyone did for Friday the 13th, right?
Yeah,
Like,
that's more of what I mean, and I like, I will say on paper, I was like, oh yeah, Friday the 13th sounds cool, but like I didn't have the months of waiting for it to come out and like excited for it and like watching all the E3 videos and just like, I can't wait for this game. It looks so cool. It looks so fun. And then it just sucks. I don't know. It's just like, it's fine at best.
Yeah, that's the thing is I think for me it's that Middle Earth is definitely very disappointing, but it functions in the way that it intends to. It still delivers on some of the core ideals of what made that first game good. Like I do think Nemesis system still works.
The stuff
Sure.
that was interesting about the first game is better and more interesting.
Yeah,
here.
it's just
they-
Okay.
all
I
the
guess I didn't have that
trappings.
experience with it. But I guess for me, I'm not saying it's worse than Friday the 13th because I don't think it is, but I do think it's more disappointing because I loved Shadow of Mordor and I was pumped for this game for a long time.
I had enough of a good time with that game for enough of the time I spent with it that it just doesn't feel good to me.
My disappointment with Friday the 13th, kind of having not followed it at all, and then kind of coming into it was, this is going to be an awesome thing for all of us to play cross coast. This is going to be great, and then to find out that's never going to happen because we can never get a game going.
Right.
Was a huge disappointment.
It was a technical mess. Yeah, those servers melted when they first came out, and I think they put out a statement saying that we actually weren't expecting to get that many people playing. And that's a lot of this is attributed to them being an independent team.
Yeah.
Very small, but a lot of the messaging and just the handling of a lot of these issues seems to be kind of just bungled, I think. And people are still up in arms about how rough it is.
So what do you think,
there.
Jason? Do you think it is a stay on this list or
as the only Jason in this room? Yes, you are an authority on.
Is there Jason X in Friday the 13th? Is there a skin for?
Not yet, I don't think, but.
There are a lot. I mean, look, there's a lot of good reverence for that franchise in that game. But
it has that purple NES Jason in it.
Wait, it really does?
Really?
Yeah. That's awesome.
That's pretty amazing.
That's really cool. But the reverence is really the only thing that it has going for it, I think.
What do you think?
I do like the when that game works. I think that game is fun. I like it.
It kind of sounds like,
but I don't think it works all the time. But the mileage varies, I guess. I see a lot of people that do play that pretty religiously, and they have a great time with it.
It does seem like there's a bit of a cult following with it.
Yeah, totally.
That is worth some credit.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm trying to weigh the cases for Middle Earth and Friday the 13th against Need for Speed because I feel like that's where we're at.
EA is close to a hat trick here.
I think if Need for Speed had been better going into this, it would fit in this category. But I think that the legacy of Need for Speed has been on a pretty downward spiral for a while.
Yeah, again, I think Need for Speed is in the most surprising category, or is vying for that award every year at this point because the games have just been so middling.
What was the last one before the last one?
Was it The Run?
No,
the
Run was a while
old.
ago.
Was The Run the Aaron Paul one? Which one was the... Wait, what am I thinking?
Aaron Paul was in the movie.
The movie.
Right, they didn't do a spy hacker thing.
The Run was the last game that had you get out of the car. This is in some ways like The Run.
There was the one that came out right around the PS4 and Xbox launch.
It's
Most Wanted,
Rivals.
Rivals.
And then was there one that was just called Need for Speed? Right.
Dude, I totally forgot about that. Rivals is also not great.
Rivals was not great. They tried to do they played too much Dark Souls or something. They tried to make an online system.
I think we can take Need for Speed off. I think I was kind of championing that one. And Jeff, you were the only other one.
Yeah, it's.
If they didn't say the words Fast and Furious when talking about this game, I wouldn't have been nearly as disappointed.
The minute they say that, the minute is when I go oh fuck you guys.
It's kind of always been
you're not
gonna
pull
though, right? It was. I feel like,
but not always.
If anything, the FMV stuff was way more
the one that was just called Need for Speed actually probably had more in common with Fast and Furious because it had a more. Well, this has one too, but I was going to say the criminal element is more interestingly represented in that game than it is in this one.
Which is the one with Razor? That's Underground?
That's Most Wanted.
That's Most Wanted.
The first Most Wanted.
Yeah,
not the second Most Wanted.
And when did that come out?
That was 2005.
Okay, when did Need for Speed come out?
The very first one?
I'm sorry, no. When did Fast and Furious come out?
2001.
First one? The first one?
Yeah.
Yeah, the very first movie was 2001.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like they've always been kind of cribbing off of the
Oh, as soon as that got popular, yeah. I mean, you even had games like Need for Speed Underground where they were trying to tap into tuner culture in a way that was kind of.
But this one's they're tapping into modern Fast and Furious where it's grandiose action heist
and crime business.
Oh, not just cool street racing.
No,
this is very much like the game opens with you trying to steal a fancy car and then double cross the person
just going along.
Okay. It's just evolving with the franchise.
Okay.
What I'm saying is this game's about family.
Okay. Well, sometimes family
shitty.
The family you
sucks,
really don't like.
But yeah, I don't know. Hearing it all out, I don't know that Middle Earth stays. I
have no reverence for Middle Earth, but that's just
I don't know.
So I'm neutral on that one.
My disappointment with Middle Earth is it didn't. I hadn't heard enough good things to play it, and I really liked the previous one. So with my limited time, it couldn't squeeze in there. I can't really say bad things about the gameplay.
I had a very good time with very large swaths of that game.
Yeah,
Like the problems with it are very disappointing, but I also had so much fun with the good parts of it that it's hard for me to see that as a top 3.
I will probably buy it and play it if I find I have excess money or it goes cheaper on the Steam
If
sale.
you end up with excess money, you call me.
We'll get a team together,
Yeah.
and we'll go steal DVD players.
Yes.
I think it
Harpoon
is.
guns.
I think it is the 4th most disappointing game of 2017.
I shouldn't bring this up. If I said the name Horizon Zero Dawn, what would the reaction be
come
in this room?
I mean,
Wait,
I mean,
what
we'll,
did
it's
they
not
say?
for most
I would say
we'll get to our next category very
Probably
soon.
not.
No
It's
way.
probably
I was
not.
like,
It's
yeah,
not. I know
no.
it's not top 3, but this is a snapshot of when we're recording this because I'm
I mean,
like
hey,
20
listen.
hours into it. But the more I play it, the less I like it.
Yeah,
it's
I
not-
love Horizon Zero Dawn, but I
Like
didn't
it-
think it was disappointing. I was like, okay, this is fun for what it is.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like, I'm okay not ever finishing it too.
I would say it's perfectly valid if it's not the Horizon Zero Dawn game that you wanted, but maybe it's not the most disappointing.
I'm
game.
saying
love-
it's not a Killzone sequel.
if anything,
you know?
If anything, I was pleasantly surprised that Guerrilla made a game that I kind of liked.
I love the world. I love the characters into it's about her like uncovering the whole story is super intriguing. I just don't like playing it.
It'll
Like,
probably be on my
game-
top 10. Like, I think
the
it's
gameplay
pretty damn
is
good.
really letting me down. I don't enjoy moving.
I
around
don't think it plays here.
Yeah,
but I see where you're coming from.
Also,
even
like
if
I
don't
may
agree.
I may finish it and end up liking it more than I do right now.
I'm
No,
gonna say if you're, we'll see.
huh? Okay.
You know, there's still some stuff to be revealed with regards
That's-
to the world
that's
building
why
stuff,
I'm still
and I
going.
like the way they pay that off.
That's why I'm going through it at this point. But like I may just end
Yeah.
up fast traveling to every story mission from here on
Yeah,
and just
that's
finishing it.
actually
That's
I
Like,
would
I don't
probably-
enjoy moving around in the world.
Yeah.
Like navigating the space is just
As
not.
soon as you get it down to where you can fast travel for free,
yeah. Oh, what?
yeah, you
Oh,
can eventually
okay.
get there. I would
All right.
probably just fucking.
Okay.
Just do it.
But yeah, is this list Mass Effect, Battlefront, Friday the 13th?
I think so.
I think it's Mass Effect, Battlefront, and Need for Speed. This is the
think-
third time that they've been up to bat for this series that's traditionally been pretty fucking great, right?
I mean, but this is like the third most. This is they've been the last 3 Need for Speeds now have been disappointing.
Yeah.
The reason this one is on this list at all, I think, is because they took a year off and started signaling that they were moving away
Man,
from
remember
the
how
things
fun
of the
that
last 2
E3
games.
demo was? Like, that was really cool. It looked cool. It looked like it was
Yeah.
going to
Yeah.
be fun to play. It looked
Yeah.
like...
Also-
And then I got to that moment in the game and was like, oh, this is no fun at all.
I will say, in light of the E3 showing, I don't think anybody was prepared for how bad the game is. Even with the previous 2 games having been middling, like
Yeah,
this game
sure.
is worse than you thought it would have been.
I
right?
could see it. I could see it.
like-
Friday the 13th, I think the disappointing stuff is that like they're trying to do fun new multiplayer things and bungled that stuff really badly.
From like a technical standpoint.
and you know like the if anything that's in some ways more disappointing, right?
It's totally
like,
yeah,
like you
it's
see
very,
you
like on a
see
personal
aspects
level,
of
it's
this
very
where you're
disappointing
like,
to me.
man, you see things in this game that could be really great. I was even somewhat interested in it, and I don't even like horror things.
I think it's just a bad game though.
What,
Yeah,
is
but
this their
maybe it's
first
just
game?
like they just
bad.
made some bad
Yeah.
choices
Yeah,
about
it's
how
just
it's
a bad-
Very
designed.
bad
I mean,
choices.
Right.
Yeah, they've worked on other stuff before, but
All right.
this is
It's their first
Yeah,
game
yeah.
as a team.
I could. All right. I guess I could see Need for Speed being on this list.
Yeah, I hadn't cared about Need for Speed since like Hot Pursuit, the one like
Yeah.
2011 or whatever. And then I saw that E3 stuff, and I was like, shit, this looks really cool. Like I got excited about it for the first time in
between
years.
that and taking the year off, like this really was like, all right, this is their last shot. Like they're gonna nail it. This
Yeah,
time,
and
right?
I guess, yeah. If anything, like I said, this feels like a game that makes it very hard for them to make another Need for Speed.
yeah, totally.
When did that
EA, baby.
Patrick,
When
I don't
did-
know.
First time ever.
When did that Until Dawn VR game come out?
That
Was that last year? Okay.
Also, that thing's not terrible.
I just think
I played a bunch of that.
I just think it's a little nuts to like to I don't know, maybe this is just me personally, but like I think my patience for Need for Speed ran out a long time ago.
Right. I think Mordor is a better fit. Than
Yeah,
Need for
I do
Speed,
too.
but-
Like-
or
like-
Shadow of War.
Like
whatever.
Need for Speed has been trending down for so long and has been only sporadically interesting for the last decade.
I think they did have a cool showing, but I also think you take that with a grain of salt, knowing they have a legacy of bad games.
Yeah.
I suppose there's a case to be made for the follow up to a game we gave Game of the Year is like profoundly messed up in a
Right.
lot of different ways.
Like
But
I
it
don't think
seems
it's.
like-
I think it's a little messed up in a lot of different
Yeah,
ways.
Yeah.
it seems like,
Like
a
it's-
lot of people had a pretty good to okay time with
yes.
it.
Like it's Death by a Thousand Cuts. There are like a dozen little problems with that game, but they add up to
But
being disappointing. But like
so
the
many
core
of
of it
us-
is still a lot of fun.
But I feel like so many of us didn't even finish it. Some of us didn't even play it, considering how much we loved the last one. And I'm not saying it's the worst game of the year, but
Yeah,
I
it's
think
most
in this
disappointing.
category, it is in the most disappointing games, considering how much we liked it.
Yeah, there's a pedigree there.
Yeah.
I still don't think
Yeah.
it's bad enough to be
It's not
in the running
worst
for
game.
that.
It's most disappointing.
No, that's what I'm
That
saying.
game has
Like,
to
it
be
did not disappoint me
not great
enough.
to be disappointing.
Yeah.
No, just inherently.
Yeah.
I mean, I think
Like
it can also be like, I think it can not great, but also like mildly like not good too. I don't know. Like, I don't think it has to be like a horrible game to be most disappointing.
No,
Like-
it doesn't. I'm just saying I don't
Right.
think it's disappointing enough to be in the top
Yeah.
3 most
I-
disappointing games.
I feel like my expectations were mostly met, and
Yeah.
this is just
Yeah.
kind of a bummer, like a pretty big bummer. It's
Yeah.
like they had a really good framework for this. They could have expanded on a lot
Yeah.
more. They doubled down on just stuff that they didn't really need to.
It's fascinating to me that they, like, obviously they understood that the Nemesis system was the draw of
Yeah.
that game, but it is fascinating to me that they could not find ways to build on that did not muddy up the experience.
Yeah, because like if you think about it, like they decided to go down the darkest road with that system and say like, hey, what if you could goose it by putting some extra money into it?
Yeah, that's true.
It's
Why
true,
don't you
but
buy
like
some orcs?
that stuff was so inessential that I don't even think about it as part of this game. Like I did not engage with that system at all. It's completely,
But you also
it's
didn't.
completely
You also didn't
unnecessary.
finish the. Did you eventually finish the end game?
No, but it's completely
Yeah.
unnecessary.
It also
Like,
did seem
it's
really fun when
absolutely-
you were using Cheat Engine. That looked really cool.
I mean, if anything, that's like the fun way to play that game.
What were our expectations for Sonic Forces?
None.
It met
I
expectations.
know. Honestly, it surpassed mine.
You know when they put bags of crap on doorsteps and set them on fire?
Yes.
And then like I'm the guy who expected that to have crap in it.
Okay.
It was
And you
weird.
stepped on it anyway.
Yeah, and then stepped on it anyway because someone has to.
All right. Well,
So nobody can see cutting Battlefront, right? Pretty strong.
I think Battlefront belongs on there.
Yeah.
I feel like
personally think it could.
the EA trifecta makes sense.
Dan, what did
Yeah.
you think of South Park? Not really disappointing, but
I thought it was fine.
Okay.
I didn't think. I was not disappointed.
All right.
For what it's worth, my
It's-
girlfriend is playing that game right now, and she seems to be enjoying it very much.
To be honest, it's kind of better than I expected.
I haven't played it yet, but like the idea that they didn't just reuse the combat system again was like kind of impressive to
Yeah,
me.
I like the
they
combat a lot
actually
better.
Went out of their way to make a different type of RPG.
Yeah,
That
it
first one
looked
was
a lot
pretty good.
worse from like I was not excited about that game from
Right.
the trailers and everything, and I had a better time
Cool.
with it than I expected to.
And WWE is always bad, right?
It's
Yeah, that's
horseshit.
the good.
Yeah.
That's similar to the Need for Speed
trending.
thing.
That is a straight
Yeah.
line at the bottom of
Yeah.
the barrel.
Bad
But
fucking games.
Guess what? Still sucks.
I'm just looking over anything else that maybe.
We will talk about WWE later.
Yeah. All right.
Also, Mass Effect wins.
Yeah.
Wait, so is this our list?
I think
I still feel like Middle Earth should be on there over Need for Speed. That's my hill. I'm not going to die there, but I am going to get sick and need someone to carry me off of it.
I think Brad's points make sense.
Yeah.
In context with what he said about it in the review and all that other stuff. I think that lines up.
like I said, I nearly gave that game a 4. Like it's not
Yeah.
Yeah.
as
I
bad
mean,
as the kind of public outcry might lead you to believe.
I had a worse time with it than you did by
I-
a substantial amount.
Right.
But
I think collectively, a lot of people were very disappointed in it. I understand where you guys are coming from, and I think this list is also pretty disappointing.
Yeah.
But like, I think Shadow of War is a close runner-up.
Yes.
Yeah, I said it before. It is the fourth most disappointing game of 2017.
It is the most disappointing non-EA game of the
Yeah.
year.
Right.
Fair.
I just honestly feel like Need for Speed was not even on my radar.
I would not have expected this to end up this way. But
EA's had a bad year.
yeah.
They did bad stuff this year.
At least Madden was good.
Story mode Madden, like really good.
Well,
Apparently.
We'll talk best surprise.
Mass Effect. They killed
Mass
Effect.
No, they
killed.
It's
One
dead.
of the greatest video game franchises
dead.
ever.
No,
They
stop,
old
it's
yellered
fine.
that shit.
No, it's fine. It's never happened.
Oh my god, man!
When they sell the trilogy, it will
Dude,
just.
I can't
Dude.
even.
Did you even beat it, Vinny?
Mass Effect?
Yeah,
Andromeda? No.
Yeah.
And that,
Man.
like,
And you
that's
love
Vinny
Mass
saying
Effect.
that.
Oh, the
I
end,
know.
Like me
No.
not finishing a Metal Gear.
the end of the game is not.
I really did.
Looking forward to survive.
It earned number 1. That's for sure.
Maybe we'll talk more about Mass Effect Andromeda later.
I mean, Brad, is there anything you want to get off your chest about Mass Effect right now that needs to be said?
Reviews on the website. I just gave it the wrong score.
Yeah, that's fair. All right.
They like on top
I
of
remember
everything
we
else.
went back and forth on that score a lot like,
you
before the
kind
review
of
went up. We
talked me, or like yes, I was very ready to savage that game.
I mean, those.
On top of everything else, they set up like 3 like unsolved subplot mysteries for the sequel and DLC that will never be resolved now. Like massive parts of the core storyline of that game will never be resolved.
Wait, are they just done? Like they're not doing?
Yeah,
DLC
they
or-
announced-
They put out an announcement a while ago saying like, yeah, nope.
Oh, they straight up killed. Like it's like, hey, we're done.
The studio that made the game has been like converted back into a support studio.
So you weren't kidding when you said they killed Mass Effect.
yeah.
They
They
actually.
They came out and said this franchise is going back on the shelf for the foreseeable future.
Oh, I thought you just meant like, oh, they made a bad one, Mass
No.
Effect.
Also,
Like, no,
Like,
they actually
you give it like 8 years from now, maybe someone
Yeah,
will dig it
they'll
out.
do that.
But,
Also-
then you say that, but you would say that about a lot of EA franchises that they never pull back out.
Also, if nobody cares about like relatively minor spoilers, I can tell you like gaping
Go for it.
things that like.
That's why we're here.
Remember how your mom is dead?
Yeah.
At the beginning of that game, and it's like it's like, oh, our parents are dead. Like they died in the service of this epic mission. We have to carry on their legacy. Your mom turns out to not be dead at the end of the game. Like 3-4 hours before the end of the game, they're like, no, she's actually in this cryo tube over here.
What?
She's been here the whole time.
Why didn't anybody find her?
She was under an assumed like it was a different name. Like they had filed her under a different name. Oops.
Wait a minute.
But I'm not done. There's
Like-
the reveal that your mom is still alive, and they never address it again. Like it doesn't factor into the ending. Like they
That's
don't like
amazing.
why she's still alive.
they don't say, hey, you should probably do, like
It's implied that will be important in say Mass Effect
Does
Andromeda 2.
anybody tell her what happened to your
No, they never wake her up.
Well,
They
Like the clerical
wipe
error
the
is the
condensation
reveal,
off.
and that's it.
Like they wipe the condensation off the mirror, like the window, and you just like, oh my god, it's our mom, and then that's it.
Is her name the real Mass Effect, and they just like kept her in the cryo tube?
she had some kind of disease or something, right? Wasn't she
Yeah,
dying?
I think
so.
that's
they
what
probably
it is.
freeze
I think
her,
that-
and they're like,
I think
okay,
that's
she's
what
not
it
quite
is.
dead yet. We
Yes.
gotta find a
Alright.
cure for
I think
this.
they were
That
looking
makes
for
more
but
sense
they
than
still
it
never resolve
and
it.
we'll never know.
Yeah. Also,
Some
the
mysteries we can't know.
you find out toward the end of the game that the head of the ARC mission, the whole program,
Yeah.
was murdered.
Oh, the
by
one who's
some-
on like that screen giving you like the pep talks
by
and stuff?
people who like were maybe working for the fucking Reapers, or like the Elusive Man is involved in something. Like they imply all these things about connections to the previous games, also completely unresolved.
And it's not something like you
Like-
talk to the right person.
Like they
you
make
get
it
the right
fucking
dialogue.
very obvious that there's going to be some murder mystery DLC that resolves the fate of the head of this program.
And you said the DLC offering is like a you said it like how you walk up to the place where DLC would be.
Yes,
and-
also post game when you're back in your home base, there's like a terminal flashing that because the whole game they have been talking like, hey, the Turian, not the Turian, the what's Tally's race, the
Quarians.
the Quarian arc is like early on in the game they're like, oh yeah, the Quarian arc didn't make it.
Yeah.
Also, all those other species were on the Quarian arc, so like they didn't have to animate half of the species from Mass Effect. At the end of the game, they're like, oh, we heard from the Quarian arc, like they got caught in some nebula.
Oh, and there's your DLC.
And it's like super obvious that there's going to be DLC dealing with that stuff, but no.
so that's
Not anymore.
That is probably one of the biggest.
There are so
shames
many
is
gaping
like-
holes
yeah.
in like the story, all the plot points they lay out that will never
they
be
were,
resolved.
Also, they were right to not
also,
do
yeah,
this
yeah,
stuff,
totally,
'cause that's
totally.
the core game.
It seems
is
like
so-
a kind of a perfect storm of bad, like bad on all levels across all
It is.
departments.
And as much as we know about what went on during the development of that game and the various
Yeah.
ways in which it was troubled, like that does not negate the fact that they took probably what at that point was the marquee BioWare franchise and just fucked it into the dirt.
Yeah.
If anything,
Congratulations.
like I don't necessarily fault this, based on everything that's come out about how that game was made.
Right, that's
Like,
what I'm saying, is
If anything, it's like a good object lesson about like the rigors of game development and how
Right.
bad it can go when things aren't like managed well.
Yes.
Like I'm not saying the people that made the game are awful,
entirely
awful
yeah.
at their jobs or whatever, because like the
all problems.
development process sounds like a complete mess.
Right, that's what I was saying, is that like yes,
yeah.
that there were so many extenuating factors
Yes.
in what went into this game, but nonetheless the product that made it onto store shelves was just astounding.
Casey Hudson's back.
That's true.
And I sent them a note that said Garrus Citadel Detective, and
That's the game they should have made.
Anthem will be the true fourth Mass Effect.
I heard
Man,
Skate
fucking-
4 is going to take place on the Citadel.
Yeah.
That'd be all right.
That would be
And
really-
Garrus is just trying to bust
Fucking,
Quarians.
Yeah, he's just
skaters.
running with a
He's like
flashlight.
sniping them from up, that fucking loyalty is like up on high.
It's just renegade Paragon.
Fucking Garrus Vicarian Private Eye is an idea that is too good for this world.
Yeah. My partner got killed.
All right.
So there's
By a
no question
skater.
what won this.
There you have it. Mass Effect
Yeah.
Andromeda is the most disappointing game of the year,
Yeah.
with Need for Speed Payback and Star Wars Battlefront 2 also in the mix.
I mean, they had a consistent year.
That's true.
Yeah, they sure did.
Honorable mention to Middle Earth Shadow of War.
Trip Hawkins
Let's
is rolling
say-
over in his grave and he's not even dead yet.
Wow. Man. That felt like a journey.
It was.
Yeah.
I know.
Should we take a break?
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
take. We need to take another break and cool our jets, and we'll be right back.